Okay, so today's story is going to be called My First DNA Test. So before I get into that, I need to tell you the whole story. And I always like to tell stories as they're coming to an end. So this story isn't technically coming to an end because the case is still going right now. There's like a police report against this issue. So, but for me, it's pretty much over because I'm going to move residence. So this story is about the DNA test is a whole thing about my landlord breaking into his own house, which there's a lot of controversy over that. But let me tell you a little bit about him. So he had a restriction order on the neighbors, and he couldn't come. So I always had to give him the mail. I always had to go to his house. We always had to meet him to pay his rent, and so that was that, which was a whole mess in itself. And then, so one day, he changed the locks to this house, to the front door of his house. And he told me not to let Stefan in because he's getting kicked out. And that's just weird because he pays his rent. And even if he didn't, he has to have like at least 30-day notice to leave. But this landlord doesn't know anything. Anyway, so he did that, and I'm like, fine, let's just see what happens. I'm not gonna I'll just play along and not let Stefan in. So that happened, and guess what Stefan does? He calls the cops, which is good. So he calls the cops. That's the first time we see those two pairs of cops that are good, and so that was pretty cool. Like they were both really really cool with us, and so that was the first time. Then the second time they came is because I changed the locks. And reason being is because he had his nephew come in, supposedly to be a security guard. And one night, I was working like 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. Actually, I worked all up until 2 p.m. that day. So I was asleep by like 5, 6 p.m. And at 11 p.m., he wakes me up. So that brought it kind of to a different level. I mean, him bringing his nephew over was kind of weird enough. Him having the restriction was weird, pretty crazy on its own. And then this happens where he wakes me up, and like nowhere you pay to stay, they're gonna wake you up. Like if you're in a hotel, no one's gonna wake you up. If you're like in a Airbnb, no one does that. Well, one time this one guy did do that to me, and I was renting his room. He got me dinner, and then he wakes me up in the middle of the night for a ride. But that was again Craigslist. Bad idea. I don't know why I ever learned, but anyways, so but other than that, no one wakes you up if you're living in a if you're paying to live somewhere else. So anyways, that was the second time the cops came, and they're like, if you come for the third time, we're gonna arrest you. Oh, you know what happened? The third time I wasn't there, I was dog sitting. That's why I don't really remember. But he came for the third time, and he couldn't. Oh my god, the cops have been here like so many times, but I remember then my roommate saying that he came, and then he couldn't open the door, so he called the cops, and then he pretty much gave himself up to go to jail because he was talking about his restriction order. He's like, "Oh, I have a fake restriction order, blah blah," and then the cops were like, "Really, you do?" And so they talked to the neighbors. They all talked among themselves, and he ended up going to jail. Like no one's accusing him of anything. He just came here, called the cops, and then he was talking too much, and he made himself go to jail. But so he went to jail. That was Saturday night, and somehow he got a bond, so he left Sunday morning, and then okay. I think I skipped this part, but when we changed the locks, some other police came, and then they're like, "You're supposed to give the key to the landlord." So we scheduled a day, Wednesday at 8 p.m., and we're supposed to have a meeting with this new landlord since the other one was in jail. And so that happens, and when that person comes to pick up the keys, they park, and then eventually the police comes, which is a first set of policemen that I was telling you about, and they're like, "No, like no one, you guys don't need to give the keys to another person. Like they were pissed. They're like, oh, so can I just come to anyone's door and ask them for a key? So again, like misinformation, like, you know, like, so one cops tell us that like we need to give them the keys to the landlord, and then this one says no for the second time. So that happens, and then at this point, the Wednesday, yeah, at this point he's already out of jail, and my roommate hadn't researched that, but he was already out of jail. And then there was another, so this was last night. This is DNA part of the story. So I wonder who's outside. Anyways, so he came at around 11 a.m. He broke into his window. Let me show you. Oh, and by the way, he turned off the AC, so it's kind of hot here. You'll see a fan right now. Yep, it's right there. And then this no trespassing sign. I don't know. Oh, see, that was on the window, so you can see how he broke in. Let me show you this DNA part. Look, you should be able to see it. See all the black? That's how the forensic policeman collected his DNA. And all he did to us was collect saliva from our mouth. And let me show you this other part he did. So, yep, all that to collect his DNA. Hashtag first DNA day. And then I wanted to show you Letitia's room. I'm not gonna go in. Let me turn on the light really quick. But he pretty much messed up his own door. Why? Beats me. You know, look. I hope you can see it. Hold on. So, see how he, like, totally ruined that? Hopefully you can... But, and then, to me, he stole my laptop, my Samsung tablet, some chargers, and then, what else did he do? Oh, I had a plan, and he just, like, threw it. So there's, like, soil all over the ground. Yeah, let me see. He should... Yeah, I think you saw, but yeah, it's a bunch of soil all over. I'm not cleaning it up. He did it, not me. So yeah, I'm moving with a family member, and it's just, I mean, maybe if I was rich, I would park my car somewhere else, get some cameras, and then hide here. And then whenever he comes one morning when he thinks we're working, we'll just